Einstein was wrong. We have misled, corrupted, fooled, and demoralized the youth of the Goyim by education along principles and theories known by us to be false, but which we ourselves have inspired. Idiots will say, "He's a genius, so you can't be right." Petitio principii fallacy. You haven't proven that he's a genius. You just regurgitate that assertion at face value. You also commit an ad verecundiam fallacy, an argument from authority fallacy. The establishment says he's a genius, so he is. He's a scientist, so he must be right. I can't believe the scientist could be wrong. You are nothing compared to him. Ad hominem fallacy. General relativity, so-called theory of relativity, Einstein's so-called theory, is blah blah blah, and it's about time, and it's about a concept called space-time, which I will prove is a lie. Now, the proof for how Einstein was wrong is very simple. The brain is a physical thing, so it is a puppet of physics. It has no choice, because physical things are slaves to physics. They are predetermined by physics. They are just dominoes in a chain, and they don't choose where they fall. Physics does. So if the mind were just the brain, it would have no choice. The reality of choice proves the mind is not physical. And materialists, with their blind faith in their dogma that everything is nature, which they haven't proven, it's an unscientific assertion, they don't want the truth, even after being aware of choice, which they can't account for. And I did a video proving that quantum or quandum is pseudoscience based on a misinterpretation of the double slit experiment. So since the mind is free to think, it's not a slave to physics. And that means it's not physical then. The mind is not the brain. The mind is not anything physical. Just like the driver is not the steering wheel. The gamer is not the controller of the video game system. And atheists, because they don't want the truth, they cling to the stupidest of lies, such as, "You're wrong because I can't think." That was his argument, covered in that video. They resort to saying that they are incapable of free thinking. In other words, if you're not free to think, you can't think. It's that simple. By thinking, I mean make your own decisions. You can't make decisions, let alone be aware of them, if you're just a domino in a domino chain like materialists believe. Therefore, since the mind is metaphysical, aka supernatural or magical, and it always exists in time, for time never began, for time before time is a contradiction, then neither is time physical. Time is supernatural. Because how could something supernatural like the mind always be inside of something natural? Why would it be bound to something natural all the time? And so the response atheists and such would give is just their argument from incredulity fallacy. I can't believe it, so you're wrong. You haven't proven it wrong. To prove me wrong, you would have to prove that you can't think. Which you make a very good case for that, but that doesn't cut it. Now then, space-time therefore is a lie, and I have defeated Einstein, and anyone could do it because he's a paper tiger. And the only reason you think he's great is because you never really questioned and looked into his stuff. I just took the time to do what others could do. So I'm not saying I'm special. It's not about me. It's not even about Einstein. It's about his claims. And those of the establishment that people mindlessly follow because they're gullible and not very wise. So then another false premise is the speed of light, and upon that is based this notion of light years, which they get wrong. Listen, Eins, light can be measured by our relatively slow instruments. This is nonsense. There is not a single instrument mankind can create that is as fast as light, because just the pushing of a button is slower than light. You say a laser can measure light because a laser is fast? Well, you have to push the button to turn it on. You have to flick the switch. You have to trigger it. And this triggering is slower than light. Light's already at the finish line when you begin your process of turning on that laser. Eyes recognizing light are slower than light. And the exact time of the most microscopic second, as it were, for when exactly the light reaches an object, that is a spectrum of subjectivity. E equals mc squared. Oh, it's so impressive. Mathematics are very impressive to gullible people. You can apply numbers to anything, even the flying spaghetti monster. Here's an equation for the flying spaghetti monster. See, I'm turning it against you atheists. F equals spaghetti c squared. There you go. Isn't that impressive? But it doesn't make it real. Buzz Lightyear, propaganda man, teach the kids to believe in this shit. The so-called theory of relativity is not even a theory in science because those have to be falsifiable. But there is no empirical way to prove that time travel is impossible. And then they talk about the so-called beauty of extraordinary at that general relativity. What does beauty have to do with science in this context? What part of the scientific method does it say, check that it has beauty? Oh, it's not there. Beauty is a total red herring fallacy. It's an unscientific and wrong opinion with zero relevance. Shows how much they have of substance that they have to focus on so-called on their supposed beauty. And it isn't beautiful. It's garbage. A black hole is according to them, a region of space-time which I've already proven doesn't exist. Space exists independently, not independently, but as its own thing is what I'm saying. Space is its own thing, time is its own thing. Space is in time, but so are minds, which are, as I already proved, supernatural. Regardless of your argument from incredulity fallacy, responses, zombies following the establishment. So they said the establishment says gravity is so strong that nothing, not even light, is capable of possessing enough energy to escape it. Actually, you're blind because as you can see in your photo or CGI thing of a supposed black hole, there is light and it's not going in. It's outside of it and it's very close. And lo and behold, it's not. The gravity, the assumed gravity is not as strong as they're saying. So they're misinterpreting this. Because if it were as they say, this light wouldn't be seen. It would be engulfed. And then they talk about this convenient plot device called the event horizon. Ah, yeah, that's convenient. It's super strong, but it can't break through this little thin wall right here. Why wouldn't a black hole consume the entire universe? Because they lie about what a black hole is. But then fake science says, there's no way a black hole could eat the universe because according to Nazi NASA, they swallow things only if they're extremely close. That's like saying that someone who has superhuman strength like Samson or Superman, he can beat people up, but only if they're within like 2 feet of him. He cannot punch them outside of that. That doesn't make any sense. So that's nonsense. Just pretext. And look at this nonsense. It says here, as they gorge themselves on matter, they also release tons of radiation. So because things are hot, then the gravity has no effect. That's a non sequitur fallacy. They're clutching at straws, desperate. And then they talk about the Big Bang as if it were real, even though I did videos proving it's not. They say light can't escape, yet things much slower than light can escape. Because they're saying, as objects in space become farther apart, they're less likely to collide with and be captured by a black hole. So objects less fast than light can escape, but light which is faster cannot escape. They're contradicting themselves. This is absolute nonsense. It's stupid. And the stupid Big Bang theory never happened. Story is not a theory because it's unfalsifiable empirically. Diffraction is why there is redshift. You don't need the Big Bang to explain diffraction. You don't need the Big Bang to explain redshift. Diffraction does that. Time can't explode. That's nonsense because I've already proven time is supernatural and not physical. Imagine someone saying, hey, maybe my birthday is going to explode. You think they're insane. But of course, if they're famous, then you think that they have a point. When you are courting a nice girl, an hour seems like a second. When you sit on a red-hot cinder, a second seems like an hour. That's relativity. No, you idiot. You're confusing awareness of time with actual time. There's a big difference, you dunce. Except you knew that you were misleading people, so you're not that dumb. You're just evil. And also dumb because evil people are dumb. Mathematics, sci-fi shit, look at this. It makes no sense. You cannot... No, I mean, all of this is in imagination when it comes to the future versus past, as if they were part of space. Sci-fi shit. Star Trek sci-fi shit. Then they'd say that general relativity predicts that the path of light will follow the curvature of space-time as it passes near a star. This effect was initially confirmed by observing the light of stars being deflected as it passes the sun. But that's just diffraction. Diffraction is the spreading of waves around obstacles, and there is no need for an imaginary space-time of time being physical, which is like saying that your birthday could explode. That's nonsense. No. It's just diffraction, people. It's being misinterpreted. Think outside the box. You don't need the impossible and nonsensical notion of a physical time to explain light curving. Here is Einstein with a self-styled Freemason. So he worked with these people, which was evidence that he was one of them. Not necessarily. Maybe just a tool. He got the Nobel Prize in Physics, but that's not really saying much because Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize when he was bombing families in Muslim countries. So those awards are a joke. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. He has a point here, which is why IQ is stupid and racist. It uses a one-size-fits-all approach. So Einstein wasn't that dumb. Sometimes he had a point. And here are some other videos of mine relating to science. Will Lie, the sci-fi guy. He said, reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Raping my wife is illusory. The rapist's guilt is not real, yuck. You dunce. The only thing that interferes with my learning is my education. He said Japanese are intellectually weak, and Einstein also said that the Chinese are stupid, which obtuse means. He said it would be a pity if these Chinese supplant all other races. Lesson 2. Chinese are inferior. Japs too. No. Einstein is an exceedingly overrated fool, and last I checked he died, so he's in hell now. Get triggered.